All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep into a hormone that seems to be everywhere, testosterone. We've got a ton of research on this one, you guys, from the chemistry of it to how it affects men's health, even to some, like, unexpected ways it might be tied to behavior.
It's amazing, right? It feels like everyone has an opinion on testosterone, but peeling back those layers to see what the science actually says, that's what I'm excited to dig into today.
Me too. So why don't we start with the basics? We always hear testosterone called the male hormone, but how accurate is that really?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a bit of an oversimplification. You're right, testosterone is crucial for men, like for development and all that, but it's not just a guy thing. Women have it too, and it's
Yeah.
important for them as well.
Oh, interesting. I think we often just hear about testosterone and we think muscles and, stereotypically male things.
Right, right. And it does play a role in that, muscle mass and strength for both men and women, but it's so much more than that. Think bone density, how your body uses fat, red blood cell production. Even your mood and how well your brain's working can be tied to testosterone.
Wow. Okay. So it's like this underlying factor in all these different systems. It makes you wonder if, like, if we focus less on the stereotype, how much more we could understand about testosterone.
Exactly. Speaking of, you sent over some research about andropause. Are you familiar with that term?
Vaguely, it's sometimes called male menopause, right? To be honest, though, I don't really know what that means, beyond maybe some odd flashes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, less about the hot flashes and more. Well, it's complicated. It is true that as men get older, their testosterone levels naturally decline. Usually this starts around like their 30s, kind of similar to how women's estrogen declines. But, and this is important, it's not like menopause, which tends to be like, boom, it happened. Andropause is way more gradual.
Ah, so less of a sudden drop, more of a slow decline over time. Makes sense. So, thinking about those declining levels, then, what kind of an impact does that actually have on men's health?
And that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? This is where, honestly, a lot of debate comes in. Some men, they might not even notice a difference, but for others, it can cause like a whole bunch of symptoms. Low energy is a big one, less muscle mass, trouble sleeping, even like mood swings, less sex drive, that kind of thing.
Oh, wow. So those like stereotypical midlife crisis symptoms we joke about could actually be tied to hormones changing.
It's definitely something to think about. And that actually leads us to something that's, well, often debated, testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT as it's usually called. You send over some really interesting research on this, especially about the possible benefits and risks. Seems like there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, that's where I felt like I was going down a rabbit hole, honestly.
Yeah.
There's all this hype about TRT as like the solution for these age-related things we're talking about, but then there's also those concerns, the what ifs and the side effects. It's a lot.
Exactly. It's like, it's not black and white, is it? The research is still developing, especially the long-term effects of TRT, but there are studies showing it can be really helpful, especially if a man is dealing with like really significant symptoms. I think there was one study, it was in the Methodist DeBakey Cardiovascular Journal, and they actually found that TRT helped men with heart failure improve how much they could exercise. Think about that, helping your heart with hormones.
That's incredible. But now I'm remembering some of the stuff you sent also mentioned potential cardiovascular risks with TRT, right? Like,
Okay.
how do we make sense of those totally opposite findings?
It really seems to depend on the individual. It seems like men who already have some existing heart problems, they might actually benefit from TRT, but for guys who are healthy, the risk calculation is totally different. It just goes to show you really can't take a one-size-fits-all approach, and you absolutely have to talk to a doctor, get advice for your specific situation.
Okay, that makes sense. So speaking of things that need like a nuanced look, I think we've got to talk about aggression and testosterone. That's a big one. Is it really this rage-inducing hormone it's made out to be?
Right. The age-old question, does testosterone equal Hulk smash? And of course the answer is it's complicated.
Right. It's like we know there's some kind of link there,
Yeah.
but it's not as simple as cause and effect. One of the studies you sent over, it was about this challenge hypothesis that really got me thinking about this.
Oh, yeah, the challenge hypothesis. That's a big one to understand, for sure. So basically, it says that testosterone on its own doesn't make you aggressive. You know, it's more about, like status, responding to a challenge. Imagine this. You've got two coworkers, they're both going for that big promotion. Things are getting competitive at work, right? Their testosterone levels are probably going up because they're both going after the same goal. It's like their biology is giving them that extra push to prove themselves.
So it's less about like turning into a hothead and more about that drive to win, to be on top.
Exactly. It shows how our bodies and our environment, they kind of work together. Testosterone might be like the gas in the tank, but how you drive the car. That's the social part, the context. And think about it, it doesn't have to be physical competition either, right? School, your job, even dating, it's all got those challenges built in.
It really makes you wonder, like, how much of that, that stereotype of men being super competitive, how much of that is coming from society versus being hardwired into us?
That is a really interesting question, right? How much is biology? How much is just what we're taught? Hmm. But moving on, I think another big one to talk about is testosterone and heart health. That's another area where there's so much confusion.
For sure. Like we talked about before, there's the whole TRT thing and how it might help men who have heart problems. But then there are also those studies about risks. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is. And it's exactly why, getting the full picture is so important. With testosterone in the heart, it's not just a simple good or bad situation. There are so many factors at play.
So, like, where do we even start to break that down?
Well, a good place to start is that when testosterone is low, it's often linked to other stuff that's bad for your heart. High cholesterol, carrying extra weight, problems with insulin, that kind of thing. But remember, those are risk factors, not guarantees. Just because you have them doesn't mean you're definitely going to have heart disease. Just like having high testosterone isn't some magic shield.
Okay, so it's about the whole picture, not just one thing.
Yeah.
What about that idea that testosterone causes prostate cancer? I've heard that one thrown around, but the research you sent, it seems like that's not really true.
All right, we got to clear that up right now. Testosterone does not cause prostate cancer, straight up. It's really important to understand that. What it can do, though, is make existing prostate cancer worse, basically adding fuel to the fire. So if prostate cancer is already there, testosterone might make it grow faster, but it's not the thing that starts it in the first place.
Wow, that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening who might already have prostate cancer, working with their doctor to manage their testosterone levels is probably going to be a really important part of their treatment.
Exactly. But for most men, being scared of testosterone because they think it's going to give them prostate cancer, there's no need for that.
Okay, that's good to know. Switching gears a bit, let's talk about what's on the horizon for testosterone therapy, the future of it. The stuff about natural versus synthetic testosterone really caught my eye. And this sublingual testosterone, that sounds pretty cutting edge.
It's definitely super interesting stuff, and it makes sense that you'd be curious about the differences there. Natural versus synthetic, it's your body we're talking about. You want to make sure whatever's going in there is going to work asterisk with asterisk it, not against it, right?
Absolutely. So give it to me straight. What's the difference between those two types of testosterone?
Basically, they're both trying to do the same thing, right? Get your testosterone levels up. But with natural testosterone, the bioidentical kind, it's the exact same, chemically speaking, as the testosterone your body makes naturally. Imagine it like a key that's made to fit a specific lock. Perfect match.
Okay, so it's like the perfect fit for your body. What about the synthetic stuff then?
So the synthetic versions, they're made in a lab, and they're similar to natural testosterone, but with some, tweaks to the chemistry. And those little changes can change how they act in your body, maybe cause different side effects than the natural stuff.
So it's like trying to jam a key into a lock that it doesn't quite fit. It might work, but it might also cause problems.
You got it. And that's why more and more people are interested in this natural bioidentical testosterone. It just seems to be a gentler approach, working asterisk with asterisk, your body's natural processes, which usually means fewer side effects.
It's all about working smarter, not harder, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then what about this sublingual testosterone? How's that different from injections or gels the usual ways?
It all comes down to how it gets into your system. Sublingual, it means you put it under your tongue and it gets absorbed into your blood through the tissue there.
Huh, interesting. So it doesn't even go through your digestive system.
Nope, bypasses it completely. And that actually has some really cool benefits.
Like those little dissolving tablets, right?
Oh, yeah.
For headaches or vitamins. They work so fast because they don't have to go through your whole stomach and everything.
Right. It's all about faster absorption. So because it's absorbed directly, it means that the testosterone is getting into your bloodstream faster and at a higher concentration. No waiting in line, it's the express route.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So for someone who's thinking about doing testosterone therapy, what does that actually mean for them, in terms of benefits?
Well, the big thing is faster results. A lot of guys who use sublingual testosterone, they say they feel the effects sooner than with the other methods. And it can also mean better control over the dose. So you're more likely to have those levels stay stable throughout the day, which can be huge for all those things we talked about, your energy, your mood, you name it.
It's like finding that perfect balance and not having those hormone swings all the time. No more roller coaster.
Right, exactly. And this was a cool detail from the research you shared. Sublingual might be easier on your liver too, because it's not going through that first pass metabolism in the liver. It's like taking a load off your liver, which is never a bad thing.
That's awesome, especially since we know that with hormone therapy sometimes, one of the worries is how much it can affect your liver. So it's really good to know.
For sure. But gotta be honest, as amazing as this all sounds, sublingual testosterone, it's not some kind of miracle cure. And just like any medical treatment, the most important thing is talking to your doctor, having that open and honest conversation to see if it's right for you.
100%. They can look at your situation, weigh the pros and cons with you, help you figure out the right dose, and track your progress. It's teamwork.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Man, this has been amazing. From testosterone 101 all the way to like the future of how it's used and busting some myths along the way. I feel like I've learned so much, and hopefully everyone listening did too.
It's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed going through all this with you. And before we wrap up, one last thing to leave everyone with. We've been talking about how testosterone affects our bodies, our energy, even our behavior, right? But if we know that it has this power to influence not just what's going on inside, but also how we act in the world, what does that tell us about how our biology and our society, how they're connected?
Whoa. Yeah, that's deep. Makes you think about how much of who we are is shaped by stuff we don't even see.
Exactly. And that by understanding those things, by learning about them, it can help us make smarter choices for our health, our lives, everything.
Totally. Well, this has been a truly fascinating look at the world of testosterone, but until next time, keep asking those questions, keep learning, and keep those brains engaged.